It's been over 3 months since Celeste was found in the front trunk of David's Tesla, and I have a very important question for you. There's plenty of evidence that proves that David had an inappropriate relationship with Celeste, in my opinion, and therefore couldn't he have been arrested on those charges months ago? So if David wasn't a wealthy music star, wouldn't he be sitting in a jail cell right now? This video is for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out a lot. That Tesla was parked on Bluebird prior to when it was towed. So it was parked on Bluebird. Remember, it was ticketed a couple of times. It was parked on Bluebird a few weeks before and then moved, I don't know where, and then moved back onto Bluebird Avenue. So maybe this is why, David felt safe parking it, around the corner from his mansion. Was he moving that Tesla onto Bluebird Avenue every time he went out of town? And if you didn't see the video, I posted the two videos, part 1 and 2, on why David did this. You'll want to watch that next. So was David living a double life, one as a rising music star and another as a total and complete monster? But I'm wondering if she was sealed in a plastic bag. She may not have needed to be frozen. We know on her missing poster that it was reported that she weighed 120 pounds. ME report, we know that she weighed 71 pounds. So I do think that she was all there, even though she was, not together. I'm watching my words here. I think she was in pieces. But I do think that by putting her in the plastic bag, it would have prevented oxygen and bugs from doing anything. I'm really trying to watch my words and say this as tactfully as I can out of respect for Celeste. But I think that the fact that he stored her and hid her in the front trunk of his Tesla wrapped in plastic for a significant amount of time. We now know from the LAPD that it was 5 weeks at least, is what they said in the last interview that they gave. So I think this indicates deliberation on David's part rather than him being impulsive. And I believe that David was very deliberate in his choices. And I believe he was very calculated and knew he was going to do this. I mean, he was fantasizing about this as early as 2023, right? That's when Romantic Homicide was released. So he was using these visuals in his videos and these lyrics. So I think he was really thinking about this. But the seizure of the items were described as useful to get rid of a person. And this raises red flags in the forensic assessment. And some of the items might indicate predatory behavior or a mindset accustomed to gore, right? We know David loved gore and concealment. So what kind of person is willing to cover up an illegal relationship? In my opinion, this would be somebody who empathized not with Celeste, but with the perpetrator. This would be someone who was focusing on information that would have excused illegal behavior rather than calling it out. And in my opinion, this is the type of person that we are going to find out became David's accomplice in this crime. And this is why it's so disturbing that the concealment of Celeste would only be a misdemeanor in California. I think the law does need to be relooked at and changed. There needs to be a wobbler put in place where it can be a felony if certain things take place. In this case, I think a wobbler just simply means it could be either a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the circumstances. So I believe that the wobbler that could make it a felony, which we don't have in California, but need to have, in my opinion, is that they could have turned this from a misdemeanor to a felony with the fact that he enticed her away from his family for illegal purposes. And then whatever happened to her, watching my words. So I think that there needs to be a wobbler in place that can take it from just being a misdemeanor to a felony, especially if it's a minor. What type of environment and traits increase the likelihood of someone being willing to become an accomplice in a series of crimes like this that took place over years as David lured Celeste away from her family. It could be as simple as peer pressure or social conformity in a tight knit group, but it could also be something a lot more sinister, such as money, such as security, such as social status. So, was David's accomplice willing to help him to gain some more clicks and views on social media? And what about offenders? Is this a organized or disorganized offender? So these kind of patterns often, though not always, correlate with more organized offenders. And these are organized offenders. If you've ever seen Mindhunter on Netflix, you have organized and disorganized offenders. They're capable of planning, controlling impulses, attempting to avoid detection, and mainly people who have wondered if David was planning to do this again. And in my experience, the recidivism rate or repeat offender rate with the type of crimes of, you know, what he was doing with Celeste, allegedly, in my opinion, SA, uh, the offender rate, reoffender rate is really, really high. So, what made Celeste such an easy target, and how did David get to her? So, we have reports that Celeste was a minor and had run away previously, and reportedly she knew David as early as age 11 or 12. We have the matching tattoos and social media connections. So this could suggest an enticement dynamic or exploitative relationship. In my opinion, allegedly, David is innocent until proven guilty. This enticement aspect is especially relevant given the fact that Celeste was only 13 and 14 years old. Some people believe that he was already starting to engage in a online relationship with her as young as 11. And we know that she had these reported runaways. So the fact that she was a runaway would have made Celeste extremely vulnerable, right? She was financially dependent on David. She was emotionally dependent on David. And I believe that he would have fomented normal teenage angst to turn her, what most normal kids would think about with their families, that he would have definitely tried to embellish on this and play this up to turn her against her family. So, in forensic context, the relationship's characterized by a power imbalance, so adult versus a child, emotional or identity manipulation, and repeated missing person episodes, with like what we had in with Celeste. We know her family reported her missing multiple times. This raises concern for exploitation. It raises concern for coercion. It raises concern for predatory behavior, and the dynamics of power between him as a wealthy, older, 6 years older than her, musician with all the money and wealth and his entourage around him, his yes people. And I think he exploited this power dynamic with Celeste, who I believe was isolated from her family. And if she was at that Doheny property, like we think she was, and I think that, this would have made her even easier to exploit because she would have been even more isolated than what we originally thought. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Give this a thumbs up and drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this.